So here's a list of my favourite things that I have bought for my GoPod Micro Caravan. Now some of the things on this list are GoPod specific, therefore if you don't have a GoPod you're probably not going to want to buy them, but some of them can be bought for any motorhome, caravan or camper van. Now I've got 14 things in total, they're in no particular order, but if any of them are of interest to you, I'll pop them in the comments below. So number one is the cheapest thing on my list, and that is my fairy lights. So they cost about £2 or £3 from Amazon. And I know it's really trivial, but they make the space just feel so much cozier. So if I turn them off, I just don't think that gives you the same feel. Whereas when they're on, I just feel that the environment feels much more pleasant, especially when I'm in the GoPod on a grey and drizzly day and I'm sat here with a hot cup of tea reading a book. I just feel that those, however small and trivial and cheap they are, just bring me a lot of enjoyment. Now number two is a little bit more practical, and that is my GoPod cover. Now technically I didn't buy this, it came with the GoPod when I purchased it. When I know that I'm going to be at home for a couple of weeks, I clean my pod and then put the cover on. It keeps it all nice and clean and protects it from the weather. It also has a clear panel on the roof so that the solar panel can still charge, and it's got a Velcro section around the door so I can still get in and out of the pod as and when I need to. Number three are these interior dehumidifier boxes. So I have two of these in my pod at all times. And how these work is they've got these like little white crystals at the top, and they absorb the moisture from the air and then capture the water in the bottom of the box. Now, although I am away in my pod for most months of the year, I still have them because when I'm inside the pod, I'm still breathing out water vapor, I'm still cooking here, and I still boil a kettle. And especially in the winter where I've not got the windows open as often, I do feel that these help just to manage the moisture levels and prevent any damp. And obviously they're great for when I'm storing the pod as well. I put one at the front and one at the back. Number four is my motor mover. Now, a lot of people laugh when I say that I have a motor mover on my GoPod because it's such a small caravan. They kind of laugh at it thinking, well, can't you just push it? Well, yeah, I can when it's on flat, level, smooth ground. However, 750 kilograms is still a lot of weight if you need to push or pull it up a hill. So this is where the motor mover just makes my life so much easier. And also, my van doesn't have a posh reversing camera, so all I have is parking sensors, and obviously being a van, I can't see out the back window. So although I can reverse my van and get it very close to the pod, I'm never going to get it bang on underneath the hitch. So I'm always going to have to do some manoeuvring of the caravan to get it onto the back of my van. And like I said, if I'm on unlevel ground or deep grass or deep gravel, it can be very difficult. I also use my motor mover if I need to level my pod. So if I need to put a ramp under one of the wheels, then I will put the ramp next to the wheel and use the motor mover to drive the caravan up it, whilst all the time being able to check the spirit level inside of the GoPod. Now without a motor mover, I wouldn't be able to do that. Now number five is completely trivial, but it has made a huge difference to my life when I'm in the GoPod, and that is a bin. So you might be thinking, well, what's so special about a bin? Well, this bin has the perfect dimensions to fit on the door and underneath one of my cupboards. So before, I kind of just had a bag, and with the GoPod being so small, you've only got a small amount of space, so it was always on the floor and you're always moving it, and it's just not nice to have a bin just lying around on the caravan floor. So I needed to work out, okay, where could I fit a bin? And again, space is a premium. And I managed to find this bin on Amazon, and it just has the perfect dimensions. You would almost think that it was built into the GoPod and the GoPod came with it. So it fits onto the back of the door and it just fits perfectly underneath the cupboard, and I've still got space at the back of the cupboard for storage. So yeah, definitely one of my favourite purchases. Number 6 is again GoPod specific, and this is the thermal wrap that I got for my pop top. So in winter, as you can imagine, once you're trying to heat the pod, most of the heat will escape through the canvas in the pop top. Now I can of course put the pop top down, but then I can't stand up. So then it makes living inside of the pod very difficult. So the thermal wrap makes a huge difference. Not only keeping the heat in, it also helps to insulate against some wind, and it means that I can continue to stand up inside of my caravan. Now I have been told that I can also continue to use it in summer, and it will help to keep the pod cool. However, I haven't tried it in summer yet, so I'm not quite sure how well it's going to perform, but for winter, it's definitely a must buy. Now, number 7 are these very handy S-shaped hooks. So I got them in a pack of 10. Now, because my GoPod has these rails, so it has this one at the front and it has 2 lots of rails down the side, these are just so handy to hook on and then be able to hang stuff off them. So I'll use them to hang up like my tea towels, my hats, Winston's jackets. I'll also use it at the other end of the pod if I need to hang up some waterproofs to dry. I also use them when I'm doing my washing. So if it's a sunny day and I'm hanging my washing outside of the pod, I obviously don't want to be putting my underwear on display for the whole campsite to see. So what I do then is I use these hooks and I hook them on the rails next to the window. I open the window to create like a breeze through the pod, and I hang my underwear there. I feel that it's a little bit more private rather than having it on display blowing in the wind for everybody to see. So yeah, these come in very handy. Moving on to number 8, and that is my Wi-Fi booster. So this is a new purchase for me. So I can travel so much because I can work as I go. But the problem is, because I work from my laptop, I need a good internet connection. Now, when I was travelling around Scotland last year, even right up on the north coast of Scotland, I always managed to get a signal. The problem was that the speeds weren't quick enough. So most of my files are stored in the cloud. So because I was trying to access them and change them constantly, I was uploading and downloading a lot of files. Now, because the speeds were quite slow, it created a backlog, which then slowed down my laptop, and it made it very difficult for me to do any work, especially when I'm sat waiting for a file to download. So I recently bought a Wi-Fi booster to try and increase my upload and download speed. Now, importantly, this isn't going to give you a signal if there isn't one. So if you're in an area where there is just no signal whatsoever, it's not going to magic one up out of thin air, but it is going to boost whatever signal is there, if that makes sense. Now, as mentioned, this is a new purchase for me, but I did do a test of it in one of my recent videos. I'll link to it up here somewhere for you if you want to check that out. And I was very impressed with its performance. Now, of course, this is just on one campsite. I still need to go and test it on other campsites and in different locations of the UK. But so far, I'm really happy with it, and I hope it's going to make a big difference to my work. Number 9 is my jockey wheel holder. So this is designed to go under your jockey wheel if you are pitched on grass, and it prevents the front of your caravan from sinking. So on a GoPod, you don't have 2 front steadies. You only have 2 steadies at the back. So therefore, the jockey wheel is actually holding quite a bit of a weight, and therefore if you're pitched on grass, especially if it's been raining, it can sink quite a bit. So the jockey wheel holder is there to prevent it from sinking. Now, I also use it on hard standing pitches as well. For some reason, I just feel as though my pod is steadier and more secure when the jockey wheel is in the chock as opposed to when it's just left out. That might just be a subconscious thing. It might not actually make that much difference, but to me, I feel as though it does, again, because of the lack of the front steadies on the GoPod. But if you are someone who is frequently pitching on grass, whether you're in a GoPod or another caravan, then I do think it's a very worthwhile purchase. Now, number 10 on my list might not excite many of you, but I absolutely love them. And they are my little mini utensils. So as you can imagine, in a GoPod, in a micro caravan, space is at a premium. And I was so happy when I managed to find these mini cooking utensils. So I've got a little mini spoon, a little mini pair of tongs, a little mini spatula, and a little mini ladle. Now, to give you an idea of size, because I don't know if you'll be able to tell in the video, this is the spatula that I use in my GoPod. In my kitchen at home, this is the size of the spatula in my kitchen. This is a standard sized spatula, and you can see how small this one is compared to it. Now, that takes up a lot of storage space in a GoPod, so this is obviously much easier for me to travel around with. And the funny thing is, once I've been traveling for a while, so if I've gone for like 6 weeks and I get used to cooking with these, I come back home and I get this thing out and I just go, this is ridiculous. Why does this need to be that big? It's completely unnecessary. But this is a standard sized spatula. I just get so used to using my mini ones, and I absolutely love them. I think they're absolutely fabulous. So if you want some utensils that don't take up as much space, these are ideal. Number 11 is my electric heater. I am so happy with this purchase. It makes such a difference in winter. Obviously the GoPod has got heating in it and it works pretty well. However, this just warms up my GoPod so much quicker. It's especially great in the morning, you know, when you just want that little bit of extra heat to get you out of bed. Just turn it on and within a couple of minutes, my whole pod is toasty warm. Absolutely love this. I use it all the time through the winter months. Now, this actually is a camping one, so it works off a smaller voltage or wattage or ampage or whatever it is. And it's also got the added safety feature of anti-tip over. So you can see it's got like this little push downable pin at the bottom. So when it's on a surface, that pin is pushed down. But if it gets knocked over for any reason, it pops out and it automatically switches itself off. Number 12 is my duvet. Now, I actually didn't want to buy a duvet. I thought they were overpriced and there was got to be other things out there that were much better value. But I was sleeping in the pod when I first got it, and every morning I was waking up with a lower back pain. I tried buying different toppers and different solutions to try to have a comfortable night's sleep, but nothing worked. So in the end, I gave in and I bought a duvet, and now I sleep very comfortably. And although, yes, in the beginning I did think they were overpriced, the price that I paid for a duvet, I'm not really paying for the memory foam and the duvet. I'm paying for a good night's sleep, and that is what I got. So for me to be able to wake up and not be in any pain and to have slept well, for that I'm willing to pay that price. And Winston absolutely loves the duvet. Wherever it is, he will go and purposely lay on it. So if it's in the caravan here, he will always lay on the duvet. He won't lay on any of the other cushions. He will go straight to the duvet if it is out. If I'm in the house, and if I've had the duvet in there because I've been washing the cover or I've been putting it back together again, etc., as soon as I lay it down on the floor, he is on the duvet. So if that isn't a testimony for it, I don't know what it is. But Winston absolutely loves it. Number 13 is kind of something that I bought for my caravan, but it's on my van, and that is my mud flaps. So when I first towed my caravan home, as soon as I got back, the front of it was covered in crap, all from the dirt from the wheels that had just kicked up. Now, of course, you can get towing covers for the GoPod, but they only protect right at the front. And I didn't want to have something else to have to do every time I moved my caravan from campsite to campsite. I didn't want to have to keep putting it on and taking it off. I didn't want to have something else to have to carry around with me. And I also didn't want the problem of, well, how am I going to dry it if it gets wet? Where am I going to put it? So for me, a cheaper and more elegant solution was to just fit some mud flaps to my van. And they have made a huge difference. Now, of course, my pod does still get dirty when I'm towing, especially on the inside from traffic going in the other direction. But unless I wrap the whole pod in cling film, that's just one of those things. But thankfully, it cleans off really easily. But the mud flaps have significantly reduced the amount of crap that gets kicked up onto the front of the pod. And last on my list, number 14, those are my grip mats. So these are actually designed if you get stuck in some mud or soft grass, so I can use them to put them under my van and to drive out. But I've actually found lots of other uses for them. One of them being that if I am pitched on grass and it has been raining quite a lot, or a lot of rain is forecasted, then I will put them underneath my caravan wheels to help prevent it from sinking. Now also, if I need to level my pod, and again I'm on grass, and again the grass is wet and soft, I can use the grip mat underneath my leveling block. So if I just put the leveling block on and then drove the caravan onto the leveling block, over time, if I was staying on that campsite for 2 or 3 nights, over that period, the leveling block would start to sink into the grass, therefore making the caravan unlevel again. So what I can do is I can lay down a grip mat, then lay down the leveling block on top, and then put the caravan on top of that. So overall, it's just preventing everything from sinking. I obviously put a grip mat under the other wheel to stop any turning as well. But overall, a very useful piece of kit for when pitching on grass. So that is the end of my list. Now, if there is anything that you have bought for your camper van, your motorhome, your caravan, or even your GoPod, then please share them with us in the comments below. But overall, I'd like to thank you very much for watching my video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.